Have you ever met someone who seems like they are on fire in life? Like they just can't miss. Everything they touch turns to gold. Maybe it's someone you know personally, or maybe not. Maybe it's a celebrity or someone you follow on social media. They set goals, they crush them. They go on diets, they stick to them. They start a business, it blows up. And then you probably know a lot of people who are on the opposite side of that coin. It seems like no matter what they do, what they start, they can't seem to make it click. It's almost like some people are just programmed for success while others aren't. Welcome to Change Made Easy. Changing your habits, routines, and behaviors is hard. We make it easy. I'm Paul Levitin, a board licensed coach who has been helping people just like you create positive change in their habits and routines for over a decade. Jack London said, "Life is not always a matter of holding good cards, but sometimes playing a poor hand well." We are all born with different innate skills and different levels of pre-programming, and this greatly affects how we go through life. Lots of things can affect your success. Your environment plays a huge factor, the people around you, your education. But no matter what, you will always revert to the level of your programming. You can think of your subconscious like a thermostat. When the temperature gets too high or too low, the thermostat kicks in with either the air conditioning or the heat to bring it back to baseline. And this is why some people can feel like no matter what, no matter how hard they try, they just can't get unstuck. And why some people seem like they fell out of the lucky tree and hit every branch on the way down. It comes down to how their mindset is calibrated for success. So does this mean if you weren't born with your success thermostat dialed high that you're doomed for failure? Fortunately not. Today, I'm going to go over the 3 mindset tactics that you can use to recalibrate your success thermostat. These are tactics that the most successful people all have. Some just have it built in them innately from birth, or some have cultivated these things by practice over years. And that way, you can use the same tools to go from the person who's been stuck and struggling to the person who can't help but be successful. It's that simple. Now, let's make it easy. One of my favorite Buddhist parables goes something like this. There's a monk, and his teacher tells him that the answers that he seeks are on top of a great mountain. So the monk sets off to climb the mountain, excited to see what the answers are that his teacher is telling him about. So he gets to the base of the mountain, and he looks up, and the mountain is so tall that he can't even see the top. It's hidden in the clouds. But he starts climbing, and he climbs all day. And every day he looks up, but he just sees clouds. And he keeps climbing for days and days, and just sees clouds. He can't even see the top of the mountain. And one day, he finally breaks through the clouds, and he looks up, and the top of the mountain is still so far away. But he isn't discouraged, because he wants so badly to reach the top of the mountain. He's motivated by what he will receive when he gets there. So he climbs, and he climbs, and he climbs, and days and days and days. Finally, one day, he can actually see the peak. And he's tired, and he's sore, but he uses all of his strength and all of his energy to climb over the peak of the mountain so he can stand up and find what his teacher has promised him. And when he gets there, he takes a big breath of relief, and he turns around to see the view from the top of the mountain. And what does he see? What is the great reward that his master promised? More mountains. And I love this story because it highlights what is to me one of life's great truths. Life just keeps going. There is always another mountain. Whatever you think is the big deal in your life right now, eventually will just be another mountain that you climbed. And then you'll move on to the next big deal, the next mountain. The monk was excited to climb this mountain, thinking that this was his final journey to enlightenment. And what he learned was, everything is the same. It's all the journey. It's all more mountains. At least that's what I took away from the story. But another lesson that I get from this story is about success. Because I can see the monk getting to the top of that mountain and being frustrated, even upset. What the hell is this? There's no answers up here. It's just more mountains. But to the teacher, that lesson was the success. The lesson was the whole point of the climb. That's what he was trying to teach him. So I can see an ending where the monk is grateful for that wisdom, but I can also see an ending where the monk goes back down to the village and curses out his teacher. Like, why the hell did you just send me up that big ass mountain for nothing? And there's a disconnect, that discrepancy, comes from the two of them having different measures and definitions of success. More specifically, the teacher knew what he wanted the student to get out of the process, but the student had not defined success for himself, so he had no way to know whether or not the journey was worth taking. To the teacher, success was the student learning a life lesson that is just one mountain after another. And if the student aligned with that view of success, then he would be in agreement and it would have been a successful mission. But if the student thought that success was some grand enlightenment, or that at the top of the mountain there would be a pot of gold or 10 women to keep him warm at night, well, then he's going to be disappointed because life is just a series of more mountains. The teacher was right about that. But what that student needed to do and what you need to do is to be sure that you define success for you before you spend time climbing someone else's mountain. Hey, real quick, we'll be back to the show in just a few seconds. But right now, I have to tell you about the free Change Made Easy private Facebook community. If you want to join hundreds of change seekers just like you and get free trainings, resources, and direct help from me in order to help make your quest for change easy, then click the link in the show notes that says Facebook group now. You'll be directed to my private Facebook group that I created just for clients and listeners of this podcast. And as a bonus, you'll get a free hour-long training on eliminating self-sabotage. All you have to do is click Facebook group in whatever podcast app you're listening on right now. Okay, let's get back to the show. Does success mean financial success? Is it status? Is it being a good parent? Is it giving more to charity? Is it looking a certain way? So the first step towards changing your success thermostat is define success for you. As Stephen Covey puts it in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, start with the end in mind. You don't reach a destination that you did not specifically set out for. No one accidentally stumbles on success. So the next step when it comes to recalibrating your success thermostat comes from the great investor, Charlie Munger, who recently passed away at the age of 99 with a net worth of over $2 billion. And Munger was most famous for being the investment partner of Warren Buffett, but also for his decision-making frameworks and mental models. And one of the decision-making frameworks that Munger used often, he called inversion. Munger used to joke, "All I want to know is where I'm going to die, so I'll never go there." And more seriously, he would say, it is the nature of things that many hard problems are best solved when they are addressed backwards. See, Munger believed that it is not enough to think about a difficult problem in one direction. You need to think about them forward and backwards. So inversion, which is flipping the problem and thinking about it backwards, forces you to uncover hidden beliefs about the problem that you're trying to solve that you wouldn't see looking from it only going forwards. As Munger put it, many problems actually can't be solved going forward. Because as they say, hindsight is 20/20. And since you don't have a time machine to go back in time after you've made a decision and you've actually learned the lesson, the next best thing is to use the power of your mind. So you run a simulation, like an algorithm. You start with the end. That's why step 1 in this process was figuring out what success even is for you. From there, you invert it. Because what most people do is they think, okay, I want to get to Z. I'm at A. So the next step is to get to B. How do I do that? But with inversion, you think, okay, I want to get to Z. So to do that, what would Y be? Okay, and now if I need to be at Y, what would W be? And they reverse engineer it on and on until they get to where they are at A. You reverse engineer the entire process starting from your success point, rather than starting from where you are now. And in this process, it reveals the things that you have to avoid. Because looking back from Z, you can see all of the pitfalls, the roadblocks, the speed bumps that you had to navigate around in order to not get thrown off course, so that you actually could reach your final destination. So say you want to improve innovation in your business. Thinking forward, you'd think about all the things that you could do to innovate. But if you look at the problem by inversion, you might think about all the things that you'd have to do to discourage innovation that would have screwed you up. And then you can just avoid those things. which sounds simple, but I bet you if you did that right now, you'd see a lot of stupid, simple things that you're actually doing today. Similarly, say you want to lose weight. Looking forward, it's easy to think, well, I just need to eat less calories. But with inversion, you might think, what are the places that I tend to eat most? Weddings, vacations, when I argue with my partner, when someone brings donuts to the work meeting. And now you can plan to navigate those tricky moments and you can get out ahead of it. And that will do much more to get you towards your ultimate goal than just planning out simply eat less and then get from A to B and B to C, but F throws you off course. So when it comes to recalibrating your success thermostat, step one is define success to you. Again, the to you part is important. This isn't about what success looks like to me or your partner or anyone else. Step two is inversion. Take it and flip it from the end. And the third and final step to recalibrate your success thermostat is to detach emotion from expectations. William Shakespeare said, expectation is the root of all heartbreak. And the Buddha said, desire is the root of suffering. And in reality, expectation is just another form of desire. In Buddhism, the concept of expectation is often associated with suffering. The teachings of Buddhism emphasize the importance of living in the present moment and using mindfulness to alleviate suffering caused by attachment to outcomes or desires, also known as expectations. So a lot of people hear this and think that expectations are the root cause, and that to avoid this, you have to avoid expectations. But that sets people up for failure because most successful people do have expectations. No one would start a business if they didn't expect it to succeed. You wouldn't go to couples therapy if you didn't expect that it would help your relationship. You exercise because you expect it will make you healthy. You get the point. You know who doesn't have expectations? Lazy people. People who sit on the couch all day, who aren't out there actually doing anything. And that's not you, because you're here listening to this, which means you are motivated and you do want the change. So the differentiator between successful people and unsuccessful is that successful people are unattached to those expectations. Yes, they expect their business to take off, but if it doesn't, that's okay. They don't let it wreck them. They treat it as data. They embrace the failure as a learning experience. They iterate and they move forward with a new understanding. Someone who is too attached to the expectation will feel great when things go according to plan, but they'll feel incapacitated when things don't. And the thing about plans is, which maybe you've realized, that things don't go according to plan often. So having an emotional attachment to your expectations is setting yourself up for unavoidable disappointment. And that disappointment, and then the attachment to it, is what keeps you stuck. This is where words like should and supposed to and fairness and justice all start to pop up. I was supposed to get this. It should have worked out like that. I put in so much time. It's not fair that I didn't get whatever. Having an expectation is fine. That's just a point to aim at. When a golfer gets up to the tee, he would like to hit a hole in one, but if he doesn't throw the club and say, I give up. He plays on. He realizes that it's a long game and he has a lot more chances. And most importantly, he can still win without ever hitting a hole in one. Because most golfers will play their entire lives without ever getting a hole in one. So that golfer can expect to play great, but he does not have an attachment to that expectation. So my action step for you is to recalibrate your success thermostat. Start by defining what success looks like for you. Remember that you do not have to climb someone else's mountain, and that's actually the worst thing you can do. Secondly, invert that success. Wherever you want to get, take it and reverse engineer it step by step. And also think, what would someone who is successful in this area not do? What pitfalls would they have to avoid to reach that level? And third, detach your emotion from the expectations. Realize that even the best laid plans often do not work. And that's okay. Steve Jobs got fired from Apple. Michael Jordan didn't make his high school varsity basketball team. Walt Disney went bankrupt and lost it all before building what eventually would become Disney that we know today. If any of these people had been too emotionally attached to that one specific outcome, they would have not been able to take the necessary action to get back up after the failure, to keep going, and to eventually win in the end. If you weren't born with your success thermostat set on high, that's okay. Because to be fair, Most people weren't. Most people only think about right now, not what the top of the mountain looks like. Most people only think about how to get from A to B, rather than inverting to see the whole picture in reverse. And most people certainly are heavily emotionally attached to their outcomes and expectations. So if you can flip those, you can recalibrate your thermostat so that success is not an outlier, but instead your new normal. And that is Change Made Easy. Don't forget about the free Change Made Easy private Facebook community. Come join hundreds of change seekers just like you and receive free trainings, resources, and direct help from me that will help make your quest for change easy. Just go into the show notes of whatever app you're on right now and click the link that says Facebook group. You'll be directed to my private Facebook community that's just for clients and listeners of this podcast. And as a bonus, you'll get a free hour-long training on eliminating self-sabotage. All you have to do is click Facebook group in whatever app you're listening on right now.